you can have those things. Those are things that are nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
But if your ego is so tied to them, once they're taken away, you're no longer you. That becomes the problem. You're sacrificing your personal freedom and whatever you feel about yourself for the things that society tells you will make you successful and make you who you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
It is the pursuit of whatever that you want that makes you who you are, not the attaining of it.
In that moment, get out of your own way, get out of your own head. If you're walking through this world and you say you're depressed, go fucking help somebody else with their problems.
Right.
See how depressed you cannot. I promise you, this is coming from personal experience. You cannot be depressed while you're helping somebody else out. You can't. If you're depressed and you're driving down the road and you see some lady pushing her car and she's got kids in the back, you get outside, you push that car with her.
Mm-hmm.
See how depressed you are after doing that.
Welcome to the Warrior's Way Home podcast.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Travis. Welcome to the Warrior's Way Home podcast. I'm here with my co-host Edmund.
What's going on, everybody?
Like I said, we are Warrior's Way Home, where we are trying to reintroduce manhood and the warrior mindset back into modern day society and modern day men, putting the fight back into men.
Absolutely. And today we're going to go over the next 3 principles in our series over the Dokkodo, written by Minamoto Musashi. Basically, it's the 21 principles of kind of walking alone, but the proper way to kind of go over these principles. What does it actually mean to men in modern day society?
Ancient rules that you can use for modern day life, not just for martial artists, but, business, relationships. They really apply to a lot of these areas. That's why we're going through the principles. We went through 3 of them, first 3 in one of our last episodes. Now we're going to get a little bit deeper into some of these other ones that, for me, we had a conversation not too long ago, became very, very relevant in what I have going on in my life right now. So we figured we'd get into those and share those with you guys.
Awesome. And also, this is also a good opportunity to say that we're not just preaching these principles, we're also trying to incorporate them in our lives. Like you're saying, this is we had a conversation we had just a couple of days ago, and the relevancy kind of fell on us like super soon. We had the conversation and we're like, all right, what are we going to talk about? And then we go through these next 3 principles and it's like, oh, it's literally the 2-hour conversation we just had. So, this is just not, we're trying to preach at you. We are literally, as we're speaking about these things, going through them.
It's not just something we say, it's definitely something we're attempting and trying to, we are actively pursuing this in our lives, living this, not just preaching it, but living it.
Right. With that being said, we're going to start with principle number 4. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. So a couple of the notes that I written down as I was going over this is cultivating humility. By encouraging individuals to think lightly of themselves, it suggests that excessive self-centeredness or ego can hinder personal growth, and understanding of the world around us. Embracing humility allows us to acknowledge our limitations, learn from others, and foster a more empathetic and inclusive perspective. So, thinking lightly of ourselves and deeply of the world.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to this particular principle, it just kind of means get out of your own head. Give yourself a chance to not be the center of, you are the center of your own universe, as you should be, but at the same time, be aware of the space in the world the environment that you find yourself in.
Yeah.
By thinking deeply of the world and kind of giving yourself a chance to recognize what is important that's going on around me. How does it affect me? That self retrospection is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely. I think there's a couple of different ways people can take this one, but the one way I thought about it was a lot of people, their world begins and ends with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, at the end of the day, you really only really have yourself in this life, and a lot of times when you're born, by yourself, and you end up dying by yourself. But that in between is like a lot of people only think about themselves.
Right.
In this world, and that can lead to a lot of struggles, even just relationships with family, friends, and business, coworkers, whatever it may be. We've all met those people that's like, narcissist is a word that's very much overused now, but it's like the odds of you actually running into a real narcissist is probably pretty low because there's definitely some psychological things that go along with that, but those narcissistic tendencies, I think, can be kind of easily, a little too easily tapped into by a lot of people. We can really just my whole world ends in blue. How does this affect me?
Right.
No matter what happens, it's like, well,
What can I get out of this?
Well, how does that affect me though?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, somebody has to reschedule. Let's say we were, planning on setting up and filming today, and all of a sudden one of us had to reschedule.
Right.
And the other one's like, well, what about me? How does this affect, my life? And
right.
Not, what does this person have going on? What happened to him?
Right.
It's like there are people out there in this world that, crazy stuff happens to somebody around them, somebody, family member dies, and they're worried about how this person having this family thing going on and how it's going to affect them.
Right.
And it's very, there's some people in this world who are about as deep as a puddle.
True. Very true.
And in my mind, that's what kind of, thinking lightly about yourself kind of comes into play, because you never really want to go too deep, and don't take yourself so damn serious. I've had troubles with this a lot in my life too, is not taking yourself so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not taking yourself, not some people not take their life seriously, but not taking yourself so seriously, that you have to be perfect and well put together in everything that you do and get everything right and these different things like that. It's like you need to think a little bit lightly about yourself and give yourself that, that space to make mistakes, to fumble the ball, to, mess things up. A lot of people will get destroyed if they mess something up.
Right.
And I think thinking lightly of yourself can kind of make that part of your life a lot easier if you're not taking it too seriously. Actually enjoying life, something we talked about, in our conversation, actually enjoying the life you live and not taking it so seriously to the point that you come to the end and realize that you didn't actually enjoy it.
Right. It's like that old quote where it's not the destination that's important. It's the journey. You know what I'm saying? If you can enjoy that creative process, it becomes hard to enjoy the fruits of your labor, kind of thing. If you're so worried about the bag at the end of, whatever your career path is, if you're changing careers or trying to go out, strike out solo or something like that, whatever that you're trying to focus on at the end of it, if that's all you're worried about and not enjoying the process of learning kind of along the way, and knowing that at the end of the day, you can pass that on to somebody else as well. That's the whole purpose of gaining wisdom or that knowledge, is the actual finding it, realizing it, incorporating that in yourself, in your psyche, or your everyday, whatever your structure is personally. If you're just worried about, oh, well, whatever the outcome of this is, if it doesn't go my way, then it was all not worth anything. Like, no. The journey is the purpose, because that failure at the end of it could lead to a greater success that you're not even aware of down the line. Which is very important. It's important to realize the journey itself is the most important.
Yeah, you could definitely miss out. There's even a from the book The Alchemist. When a lot of us love, especially in one of the groups that we're in, we talk about it quite a bit. There's a story of a young man went to see the wisest man in the world. I don't remember the story. He went to ask him. He's like, "Well, what's the meaning of life?" And he said, he didn't have time to explain it to him. Now he said that he wanted him to go. He had this beautiful kingdom, beautiful, estate, castle, whatever you may want to call it. And he told him, he said, go explore my world, because how can you respect a man if you know nothing about his world?
Right.
And he said, but on your journey, I want you to take this spoon that had 1 drop of oil on the spoon. And he said, take this with you. He's like, so he went, and he said, do not lose this drop of oil on the spoon. So the boy went, hours went by, 2 hours later, he came back. And he presented the king with the spoon. He's like, I still have the oils. He's like, yeah, but did you see did you see the beautiful gardens I have?
I forgot about that story.
That took, 10 years for the gardener to create. Did you see the beautiful tapestries that are, hundreds of years old? Did you see the library with all the, books from all over the world? And, the guy was like, no, I missed out on all of that because he was so focused on the oil. He said, well, go back and, explore my world. So he went back and saw everything. He came back and was talking about the garden and the tapestries and all the wonders and the food and the smells and everything. And he said, yes, it's wonderful. He's like, but where's the drop of oil on the spoon?
You give me too much to do, sir. Like, I can't look at everything and the spoon. But that's the point.
Yeah,
right. That's exactly the point.
It's like, don't miss out on the world around you, but don't lose yourself so much in that world that you forget what's important, that drop of oil on the spoon.
Right.
You got to have that balance. It's like, you don't want to be so focused on one that you miss the outside and what's going on in the world, family, kids growing up, all of that. So you're so focused on doing.
Right.
Or in fighting terms, you don't want to be so focused on the punch that's coming that you miss the kick.
Right. Right. Right.
you want to be paying this, you want to have that level to where you can back off and have that focus on both ends, where you can, see that close, but back off and see that far, when necessary. You're able to enjoy the world and see what's coming, see what's happening around you, whether it be good or you're watching out for something else that's happening.
Right.
But still not losing focus on what's actually important. That's the biggest thing.
That's a good analogy, because your mind, your persona, you are the drop of oil.
Yeah.
Let's look at it this way. Who you are on the inside is the person holding the spoon. That oil in the spoon is all of your goals and everything. But in the journey of moving forward and trying to explore the world, stay rooted to your purpose, but yes, be able to see everything around you, because that's why you're out here. That's why you are on this planet, is to explore and to sample and experience everything that is there to offer, whether it's food, travel, whatever it is. But don't lose focus. You are here for a purpose.
Yep. Exactly.
Our second point was expanding perspectives. Engaging with the world in a meaningful way broadens our understanding, challenging our perceptions, and fostering personal and intellectual growth. Exactly what we just said.
Well, one thing on that is engaging with the world in a meaningful way. In this world of TikTok and Instagram and all these different apps that we have and everything like that, I think a lot of the relationships we have aren't as meaningful as they could be. I mean, you and I even talk about this. It's like that we don't just have a relationship when it comes to this. It's like the actual, friendship. Boys, you can talk to me. Da 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 da. It's like actual finding meaning in that. The world is such a place now where it's the interactions are so
superficial
now. Exactly. It's one of those things that you interacting with people now. It just doesn't seem real. It doesn't seem based in reality anymore. I mean, you see even to the point where you see people's lives on Instagram and these different things like that, and you think they're living these amazing, beautiful lives and going to these beautiful places, and people get literally depressed because they see people living these what so-called amazing lives. Come to find out that these people maxed out their credit card to go to Thailand. True. And we're only there 2 days, but they took 600 pictures.
Right. I'm gonna make it worth it.
In those 2 days. I mean, how meaningful is that? You maxed out your credit cards to take this 2-day trip to Thailand to take 600 pictures. Did you even fucking enjoy the trip?
Right.
Did you actually enjoy this? So you didn't do this for you.
Right.
You did this to stand on the gram.
Right.
It's like, how meaningful is that? What is that going to mean to you in 10 years?
Right. Yeah.
What's that going to mean? It's going to mean nothing to you in 10 years.
There was an experience that I had not too long ago where I had some friends come out and we were all having a good time. They had never been to Colorado and all that stuff, but there were issues, and a lot of it did feel like, well, did you come to kick it and like hang out with me? I'm the type of person who wants to like show you things. I want to be able, if you're coming to see me, I want to take you out somewhere, show you the things that even I take advantage of, because us being here in the mountains, you see them every day. And sometimes until you're like actually climbing one in an area that you're not familiar with, just the views alone, you can take advantage of that. It becomes something that's, it's just so common, kind of thing. I know other states got mountains and beaches and stuff like that, but you appreciate what's around you to an extent until, like we say, life takes over. And then you kind of forget about them, even though they're right there in your face. And then when you get the chance to go out into nature, it's like, oh, I forgot how beautiful this is. And I still get to see it every day. Just the fact that I can go climb around a mountain right now if I felt like it, is something that I can take advantage of, or go hiking or go camping or something like that. But not everybody comes to the places where you are for what you want to show them, kind of thing. Sometimes they come for what they think the regular experiences is, or something that's in the city. I was born a city, or I was a city boy forever, coming from my hometown. But now I'm more like wanting to be in nature a lot more. But you can't force that on other people as well. You know what I'm saying? They want to do stuff within the city because that's what they're used to. But just having the opportunity to show them new things is something that I'm still proud of, and something that I still want for them.
And it has meaning.
It has meaning.
It has meaning to it, and you're looking for, in those relationships, having meaningful relationships, not just like said that superficial, like, oh, hey bro, how's it going? Da, 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 da. Oh, cool. Yeah. And but now, like, are you all right? Oh yeah, no, I'm good.
Right.
Are you really all right?
Right.
You know, like we talked about, he's like, you know, he got on me the other day, like, what's up, bro? I wasn't gonna tell him.
I was gonna get it.
You know, I was gonna be like, nah, man, I'm good, bro. You know, I'm good. Everything's lovely. We're cool. We're cool. It's like, really? It's like, yeah. Traps.
And it doesn't take long.
This shit got real.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. But that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a place now where, like, let's say the workplace.
Yeah.
If you go out and talk to your coworkers now and they say, hey, how are you doing? They don't expect you to go into what's really wrong with you. They just want to. They're doing their due diligence and saying, it's a thing to say. So to
polite society.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw something on TikTok or Instagram or something that was like, hey, remember yesterday where you told me like you had a lot of problems and all that stuff, and yeah, that's fine to do that, but maybe next time try shutting up. And it was and it was like, oh shit, but that's real. Like, people really feel that way. You know what I'm saying? They don't care about your issues because they got their own issues. But by thinking lightly of yourself, not saying stuff it down, not saying don't express that, but find people who are wanting to listen to that and help you grow, because if you don't go through it, you're not going to grow from whatever the experience can be. Mm-hmm. We went through a lot of different subject matter in that conversation. And, you know, maybe some of it wasn't expected, some of it was needed, but at least you have the perspective now, and you were in a safe space to where you could talk to somebody about that kind of stuff. That's what's important. You ain't got to talk to everybody.
And I had to think more lightly of myself, even to even have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I had to, you know, realize that it was all right to share that, you know, to open up and to, you know, let that go. It took a little pushing, a little prodding, you know, because I tend to be that type that, you know, like I said, thinking lightly of yourself, that was definitely relevant, because I don't, you know, you start thinking all deep, like, you know, all my problems are my problems, and, you know, I don't need to bring this to the world. But
everybody has the same problems.
You got to think more lightly of yourself and be like, you know, it's like, I had to allow you the opportunity to even help me. It's like, you know, if I denied you that, I'm denying you a gift.
Right. But that's another thing we can kind of get into a little bit later. But and the third one that I had for this particular principle was active participation. These are flowing really well. Thinking lightly of yourself and deeply of the world also implies the importance of active engagement and participation in addressing the challenges and issues that affect the world. Rather than being solely concerned with personal interests, this quote calls for individuals to actively seek knowledge, be informed about global affairs, contribute towards creating positive change. It highlights the transformative power of individuals who think beyond themselves and take meaningful action to make a difference in the world, whether through advocacy, volunteering, or social activism.
Okay.
Yeah, that one was a lot. All right. But really what that boils down to is one way to get over your own problems is to help somebody with theirs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's by those who, I'm not saying go out and fucking join the Peace Corps and all that, which is important, but you don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Just by voluntarily helping somebody around you, you are then expanding yourself, because you're giving yourself the opportunity to go, okay, this world it's my world internally, but this world is not about me. Yeah. So let me go out and help somebody else so that I can not think about my problems for a minute and just be of use to the world, which is something that's lacking, because whether it's through the pandemic or even before, people have the tendency to be self-centered. You know, we pass by the homeless man on the street, we don't give him anything. But we're walking out of a 4-star restaurant or something, and we're eating good, but this man hasn't had anything to eat in days, as far as we know. You know, simply buying somebody a pair of shoes or something, or just volunteering at a soup kitchen. Speaking to them. Just acknowledging their presence.
How powerful it is just to speak to somebody. I mean, there was, I don't know if you ever saw that video of the homeless guy where they're interviewing him. He's like, don't call me a bum.
Yeah.
He's like, don't call me a bum. He's like, I'm a human being. And you can see the emotion on his face that people, you know, he explains, like, people will literally pass you by and not even acknowledge your existence. You know, it's like, and for me, I'm like, that's just, it's unacceptable. One is like, yes, this person's on the street there, you know, you don't know the circumstances, whatever it may be, but just a baseline of respect, you know, acknowledging somebody's presence, just saying, even if it's just a hey or just a nod, right? You know, it's like they may not have had anybody acknowledge them at all. You know, there are people, literally people who walk in this world. Some of you guys maybe have experienced this, where nobody speaks to you all day.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody says anything to you all day unless they have to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody goes out of their way to even acknowledge you. There are people in this world who can go through an entire day and have no one speak to them.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's just an unacceptable thing. Is that we as human beings, at the minimum, we should be doing is acknowledging each other's presence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if it's just a nod as you walk by somebody, something like that. It can literally change the way somebody's life is going just
Right.
by acknowledging their presence. You don't know what somebody's going through in that moment. You know, get out of your own way, get out of your own head. If you're walking through this world and you say you're depressed, go fucking help somebody else with their problems.
Right.
See how depressed you cannot. I promise you, this is coming from personal experience. You cannot be depressed while you're helping somebody else out. You can't. If you're depressed and you're driving down the road and you see some lady pushing her car and she's got kids in the back, you get outside and you push that car with her.
Mm-hmm.
See how depressed you are after doing that.
Right.
See how depressed you are
True.
after doing that. The only time depression creeps up on us is when we're in our own head and on our own shit
Mm-hmm.
and our own problems. That's the only time. When you're helping somebody else out, it gets you out of that mode.
Right. I want to share a quick story because I wasn't going to share this at all because it kind of goes into that altruism and it just came to me, but I think it's important. I went to Japan recently, about 2 months ago, and and I was in a little bit of a rough spot before I left.
Okay.
So we were traveling with some friends. We had a real good time. But there's a difference between homelessness here and homelessness in other countries.
Oh yeah.
So homelessness is very apparent in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
I saw 2 homeless people in Japan. Mm-hmm. Now I don't know if they're just hiding. I don't know if they got them they got them stuffed in the back somewhere. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I saw one in the subway and I saw one outside of like a shopping center around the stadium we were going to go visit and stuff like that. So he didn't have a sign. Mm-hmm. He didn't have shoes on. You know, his nails were outgrown, you know, his hair kind of shaggy, typical homeless man look, but he wasn't asking for anything. Mm-hmm. He wasn't begging. He didn't have a story, you know, not saying that people need to know why sometimes if you're on the street, because if you don't want to be looked at as just somebody who's just there to be on the street, they have a sign because they're trying to get empathy out of you, right? Yeah. This man in Japan, he was sitting on his little cardboard square and he didn't have a sign, he just was sitting there. And the population in Japan is like way big for, you know, like for the islands that they're on. Mm-hmm. So people are walking by. We're a couple of us ran to a shopping complex because we had some time on our hands. I went and bought a shirt. Awesome shirt. But I had some change left over. And because I saw that he wasn't asking for anything and because he was just sitting there minding his own business, I felt compelled to give him some of my change. Mm-hmm. So I did. We walked past him at first, and then something just stopped me, and I was like, "Give him 1,000 yen. It's nothing to us in America." So I'm like, "All right, I'll give him some money." So I gave him my change, and he, we bowed. He was very grateful. We walk off. My friends hadn't followed me back to him, but they knew where I was going, kind of thing. Well, I didn't say, "Hey, I'm gonna go do this thing." Yeah. I just gave, and then the friend who hadn't bought anything yet, he was like, "Oh, you're right." So he also went back and gave dude some money and bowed to him and all that stuff. And then he was like, the homeless man was shocked because he didn't want to he took the first one. He didn't want to take the second one. He didn't want to take the second amount of money. Mm-hmm. So, and what my friend had gave was a little bit more than what I had gave. Yeah. No problem, whatever. So then we start to walk off, and before he gets 5 steps down, he comes back and he says, "You know what? I had planned on buying a shirt, but why buy a shirt when I can help this man who, like, clearly he's like not as better off than me?" Mm-hmm. So he goes back and gives him more money. And then like the homeless man, like damn near starts crying. He was like, "Damn, like it's weird because we had to travel halfway across the country just to do something simple for somebody." And he was extremely grateful. Whereas sometimes when we're here in the US, if you give somebody something, they're like, "Oh, well, why is it just this? Why aren't you giving me more? Why aren't you giving me more if you have anything to give? Why don't you give me your all?" Type of thing. But what I really took from that was, even though I didn't give as much as my friend did, he felt, once he saw me doing something, he decided to do something, which again made this other man's life better, even for the day. If it was just him, he had more than he had 5 minutes ago. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So just the fact that he was able to receive that, and I felt good because my actions, just you could see it instantly, the ripple effect of, okay, if he just would have gave what he gave the first time, fine, but then he decided to give more, and this man was extremely grateful. So it just goes to show, if you once you get out of your own shit and help somebody, you don't know who's watching. Even in the people who were, somebody could have gave him something after we had already left or whatever, but we had changed that man's life even just for a moment. You know, so but yes, by getting out of your own way, by getting out of your own head and just doing something nice for somebody else, they can prosper infinitely off of that, or at least more than what you would have from just doing your action.
But it's not even just them. It's like it's you as well. It's like giving, and this might be controversial. Giving is one of the most selfish things you can do.
Yeah, I do believe, yes.
Because you can't give somebody something and not get something in return.
Right.
You know, it's like if you giving to that homeless man, you immediately get a feeling back from that. Even if somebody is like, and I've had it before where, you know, it's like people don't even say thank you for certain stuff or something like that. But at the end of the day, I have to remind myself after I, you know, maybe curse under my breath a little bit, like fuck them.
Right. He's like, how dare you not be bowing down to me right now? Like, no.
You not appreciate me opening this door for you.
Right.
Whatever it may be.
Right.
But you know, you realize that it's like what I just did for them wasn't about them. It is like I did that to give. It's like how they receive is on them. I did my part.
Right.
I gave.
Right.
That's the part. That's the piece I was supposed to do.
Right.
Their piece was to receive it however they receive it. That's on them. That's nothing to do with me.
Right.
But I'm still getting something out of that because I know that I did what I was supposed to do. I gave. And when they're appreciative, it's amazing because you get this feeling from it, like you did. You know, you feel something immediately. You can't give and not get.
Right.
The universe doesn't work like that.
Right.
You know, so it's one of those things. It can be, and once you start doing it, it's like, you know, you get into that mode. It gets addictive over time. And, you know, you really get addictive into, you know, wanting to give more. You know, and it's because you're receiving something at the same time.
Right.
So there's a piece to that.
Absolutely. Moving on to principle number 5. So, be detached from desire your whole life long. Freedom from attachment. Excessive attachments to desires, material possessions, or outcomes can lead to suffering and discontentment. By cultivating detachment, individuals can attain a sense of inner freedom and peace, allowing them to navigate life's ups and downs with great equanimity. So it's allowing yourself to still do the things that you want to do, go after the goals that you want to go after, but not being attached to the outcome of it as much. You know what I'm saying? It's like we said, it's the journey, not the destination.
Yeah.
We are in a time where a lot of what we see on social media or just out on the street is about attaining something. It's about getting to the bag, getting the designer clothes,
getting the girl,
diamonds, getting the girl, all that stuff. It's a lot of material stuff. And once you get that, you're supposed to get the fulfillment from it because you got it now.
The trappings of success.
The trappings of success.
Yep. So
it's really not about, you can have those things. Those are things that are nice to have. But if your ego is so tied to them, once they're taken away, you're no longer you. That becomes the problem. You're sacrificing your personal freedom and whatever you feel about yourself for the things that society tells you will make you successful and make you who you need to be. It is the pursuit of whatever that you want that makes you who you are, not the attaining of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that some of the most peaceful people on this planet are the people with the least. It's like if you look at monks, you know, some Buddhist monks, they may have a bowl for the rice, you know, they have a sleeping pad, and they have usually the clothes on their back, and maybe some personal items. But all of what they have could probably fit in a box, maybe, you know, this big.
Right.
Is like, but they're some of the most peaceful people on the planet. You know, you see people who in some of these, you know, quote unquote third world countries, which I don't like third world, it's like some of these developing countries.
That's an American thing, I think. We just assume everybody who's not America is shit poor.
I think it's definitely a West thing for sure.
Yeah.
But you see them, and they're some of the most happy, giving people that you'll ever meet. It's like, you know, like I was visiting my cousin in California, and the big thing, it wasn't the sun, it wasn't going to the beach and everything like that got my attention the most. it was the fact that, and I hate to say it like this, but the majority of people I saw looked fucking miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like there was very few smiles where, you know, in LA as we're going through restaurants, different places like that. I mean, people did not look happy. And I told him about it. He said, "Man, so what do you think?" I said, "Bro," I said, "Look, I gotta be honest." And it's like, nobody looks fucking happy around here, bro.
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, they're not."
He's like, "Oh, you noticed?"
He's like, "It's LA, bro. Nobody's happy."
Right.
He's like, they're all grinding, trying to make rent, trying to do this, trying to do
California's
that,
more expensive than Colorado.
trying to achieve. It's like, you know, they're so busy trying to achieve that they're not enjoying this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it shows.
Right.
It shows. You know, I said hi to one guy who was he was valet parking cars. He looked like I was gonna rob him. Like, I was
hello.
I was like, "What's up, man?" I had a smile on my face. He's looking like he's gonna reach for something or something. I'm like, still what? I was like, really?
Right.
Do you people not smile? It's like you live in sunshine all the time. You got the beach like a mile away. Of course, it's like a 5-hour drive because of traffic.
Yeah.
2 miles to the beach. But it's like you have all this and you are miserable. I mean, you could, like I said, you could feel it.
Right.
I mean, you could like feel it and see it on people that they just were not happy. And I was like, how can you live in such a beautiful place and be miserable like this? No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And it showed. You know, it definitely showed. And it's one of those things that people weren't detached from the outcome. They were spending so much time going for that goal that, like we said in one of the first ones, they didn't see all that they had compared to others. You know, it's like, so you can't really, if you're constantly going and grinding, and I'm guilty of this, you know, just pushing and not looking at what you're actually achieving, you can get into a place where you're just, you know, you're not satisfied, but you're also not happy.
Right. Absolutely. Embracing non-attachment. So non-attachment does not imply a lack of ambition or passion for life. Rather, it encourages individuals to pursue their goals and dreams while remaining unburdened by the outcome, like I was saying before. By detaching from desires, we can approach life with a sense of curiosity, openness, and acceptance. This definitely hits home for me because I was let go from my job a few months ago. And so in that time, I went through the panic mode of, you know, where's my money going to come from, all that stuff. And then I had to sit down and realize, okay, that's what my savings are for. That's the whole purpose of, you know, having other options. I was already looking for other jobs. In the meantime, I already did all the prep work of, you know, getting my resume together, doing interview questions, reaching out to different networks of people. And even though I didn't get the response I wanted immediately, I was already in a mode of, okay, I knew something like this could happen. I was prepared for it. Now I just need to be still, which is very important. When tragedy strikes, you have to be still because it's an opportunity to realize what your options are and that you didn't need that job or whatever that circumstance was. And I had a chance to be open. I got a chance to travel. I got a chance to meet a shit ton of new people. I got a chance to start this podcast.
Yeah, we wouldn't even start this if you're still working.
Exactly. I got a chance to figure out what was important to me, what I still had around me, what was to be procured, and what my new goals need to be. Not everybody has that opportunity to do that because they're living paycheck to paycheck, or they're having the you know, whatever the family issues are, relationship issues, or self-esteem issues, ego. By taking away something that drains so much of your time, like a 9-to-5, gives you the space if you're prepared for it. Now, sometimes you have to take that too, though. Like we talked about, sometimes you have to take the time to figure out what's important to you. What can you live without? What's more important? You know, I've been able to sustain myself, not saying that I'm not ready to go back to work, but to have the space to realize, okay, it's not the end of the world. There is other options, and there's the chance to figure out how do I want to proceed with the next half of the year or the rest of my life.
For sure. And it's one of those things that, you know, life presents you opportunities. And sometimes it's not exactly presented the way we would expect it to be.
Ever. It is never, here, this is what you asked for, right? No.
I always hear this, heard this phrase, and I absolutely love it. It's like, you know, we all say we like surprises, except, you know, the ones we don't expect, we call them problems.
True. It's very true.
You know, it's like, so, you know, it's one of those things, like, if we didn't have certain things happen, we wouldn't be where we are. You know, we wouldn't be on the path we are. You know, it's like, would you have taken that jump and, quit to start doing some of the things that you're doing now and get some of the perspectives that you've got now?
Right.
Probably not.
Probably not. I'd
If,
still be complaining about the job that I was in.
yeah, if I didn't have some of the issues I had, in junior high with like my back and, different things like that, with surgery being a possibility, I wouldn't be in the field that I'm in right now. If I had just been completely healthy the whole time and had no issues, stuff that I didn't have to work on and motivate myself through and push through and learn, to change my body. I don't know if I'd be here right now. Maybe not in this form, and definitely not as far as I am right now. I wouldn't be doing this necessarily right now if I had just, been a healthy individual with no issues, not surgery lean, nobody's talking about fusing my back and my spine and stuff like that. If that hadn't been the conversation, I don't know if I would have done things the way I did them.
Right.
And so I don't know if I would be here right now in the way that I am.
That's funny. That's funny that you say that, because when we were talking about your stuff, I didn't know what the origin of that was. I knew you were a physical therapist. I knew you were helping people.
Not physical therapist.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I knew you were doing what you were doing,
training
massage,
and rehab and stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, it is still physical therapy, but it's like preventative, or like you were saying, you say post and pre.
I do similar things to what physical therapists do. I just don't have the credentials, that they do. So I'm not going to be, charging the buku bucks.
Right.
It's like one day I'll have a physical therapist on staff, so they'll be doing that piece of it. So I don't need to go to a physical therapist. So,
sorry about that. But
no, you're good. That's just CYA. You gotta cover my ass legally on that one.
But still, without having to find a way to heal yourself, you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing for other people.
Absolutely not.
We never talked about this.
Absolutely not.
See? Mm-hmm. You're holding stuff back, Travis.
Yeah, I gotta give us surprises.
So, transcending materialism. Detachment from desire can lead to a simpler, more intentional lifestyle that prioritizes experiences, relationships, and inner contentment over material possessions. That's everything that we're talking about.
Okay.
Right? So give yourself the chance to realize that you don't need as much as you need. Mm-hmm. And that if you can live on less, you can give more. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So by prioritizing the relationships and the experiences that you have around you, you'll realize that those are much deeper than the pockets that you think that you want.
Yeah.
There's differences between financial freedom, financial independence, and a slew of other things. Mm-hmm. You actually don't need as much money as you think you need in order to live, to get all your bills paid. Now, everybody wants the $1 million because, I can just do what I want now. But until you figure out what it is that you actually need financially, or spiritually, or emotionally, or intellectually, you'll always want more.
Yeah. And
there should never be a bottom to what you, let me rephrase that. There should never be limits to what you want, but there has to be some kind of understanding of what it takes to get there, and what you actually physically need in order to meet those things. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's, why do you want what you want? Because at the end of the day, it's like, what are you selling your life for? It's like, because that's honestly what you're doing. It's like when you're working, when you're doing different things like that, it's like time is the ultimate. Is actually the thing.
Currency.
Is actually the valuable thing.
It's
actually our time.
It's the only currency.
It's really not the money. It's the time. It's like, so anything that you're doing, you're selling your life for something. So that's what are you selling your life for, and is it worth it? Is like, because if I'm paying you $1 million, let's say if I was paying you $1 million a month for you doing something for me, but you do it for 20 years, and at the end of the 20 years, you leave, and you're like, man, I hated every minute of that. Was it actually worth $1 million a month?
Right.
Was it worth all that money that you were getting paid if you absolutely despised what you were doing, or if it, corrupted your soul? So there's a lot of people out there who are doing stuff for money, but morally it goes completely against what their morals are.
Coming out less than a person.
We can talk about the OnlyFans thing going on. It's like, how many people are doing this, and then they come to find out later on that it's like, I was selling my soul for something that I regret. It's like, I made a bunch of money doing it. And there's lots of people out there that you can research, not just, OnlyFans, but movie stars, people who, did crime, drug dealers, mafia guys, everything, like, street dudes, rappers, whatever it may be. they can turn around and be like, I sold my soul for something that I really regret. I wasn't, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. It's like, so the question is, what do you actually really want in this life? Is it worth it to you? If you're gonna be making all this money, is it actually gonna be worth something? And how you're making it is an important thing. So, it's like, do you just want the $1 million to buy a fancy car to show to everybody else? Or do you want the $1 million so you know that my family will never want anything? It's like the people who took care of me are taken care of forever.
One thing I kind of want to dig into is that it's not that, I think it kind of comes down to like easy money is not good money.
Oh, yeah. Not all money is good money.
Not all money is good money. And it is a personal preference as to whatever that you're doing. If that's really what you want to do that.
Oh, yeah.
But
absolutely.
there is a percentage. I can't say majority because I don't know. There's a percentage of people who they do these things thinking it's going to be easy. They find out that it's not, and then they end up regretting it. There's all types of documentaries and stuff on, whether it's like, porn stars or like people who are in the mafia or doing some kind of criminal activity, or even police officers, people who thought they were protecting and serving their community and realized that it's not what they thought it was. They have these regrets and they don't want to go into the job every day because they know it's going to take a little piece of them every time they come out. And they end up regretting it, but they never find out how to get off of that train. They never figure out how to properly apply that energy towards something that is worthwhile. And that's the problem.
Yeah, very true.
So the last one, number 6, do not regret what you have done. Which is, it kind of goes with, so regret often stems from dwelling on the past and feeling remorseful for decisions made. However, by adopting a mindset of acceptance and self-forgiveness, we can use our experiences, both positive and negative, to shape our present and future selves. Instead of dwelling on regret, we can focus on the lessons learned and use them as stepping stones towards personal development. This is definitely something that I feel like both of us have gone through, but at the same time,
I'm still going through.
still going through. Gonna keep going through because there's always something. There's always, something that you regret doing, and it'll come up when you least expect it. Not everybody dwells on all the negativity that has happened in their lives, or maybe that they've put out into the world. But in your quiet moments, stuff starts to come in your head, and it creeps up. So. And that's an opportunity to dwell on it, or no, I'm sorry, not dwell on it, but self-reflect on it. To go, okay, if this is a thought that is coming up to me now, why do I feel this way? Why is it coming up right now? Is it just something that's been kind of, some people will use escapism. They will run from that feeling and put themselves in situations where they don't have to think about that. But when they're too tired to move, that's when things start to kind of creep up and start to nag at you and gnaw at you because you're too tired to fight it off. But then at the same time, that's what meditation is for. You should be using this time to figure out, okay, if this is still a problem for me, what can I do to if I can't squash it, what can I do to minimize it? And why is it so prevalent now? And again, some people don't have the time to think about this, but you need to take the time to think about this because it's going to keep nagging you. It's the reason why people are alcoholics sometimes. It's the reason why people do drugs the way they do. It's the reason why people are out in the clubs you are running from the problem, but everywhere you go, there you are. You know what I'm saying? So there's always a way it's going to come back, but there's also a way out, but you have to kind of figure it out for yourself.
If you hadn't been the person you were, you wouldn't be the person you are right now.
Correct.
I don't like to say I have regrets because I can't say I regret the things I've done. I used to say that. You say there was things I regret, but I don't regret them anymore because if I hadn't been the guy I was and did the things I did, I wouldn't be who I am right now. If I've done violence to people, I'm just gonna be real about it. I'm definitely not a hood dude or anything crazy like that, or been out in the streets, but I've done some things that weren't the best. But because I've done those things, if I never hurt anybody, I don't think I would be as kind as I am. And the times I have, the majority of the times I have been violent, it was for a reason.
Mhm.
And the cause, I would say, for the most part, and the great majority of them have been worthy causes.
Mhm.
It's like I can't say that I was out here just beating people up, for no reason.
Right.
It's like if I had a few of those moments, I think everybody has.
Mhm.
It's like, but if I hadn't done those things, if I hadn't been as violent as I was, I don't think I'd be as compassionate as I am right now.
It's a balance.
It's like some of the most compassionate people, some of the most kind people you can see now. Some of those men who are the kindest will give you the shirt off their back, will also tear you apart.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that having that balanced side to them. It's like, because I've experienced violence, because I've seen some things that, other people probably really wouldn't want to see or really wouldn't want to experience. It makes me appreciate so much more now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been that way and been out of control and everything like that. I value control now. I value being in control of myself, not losing my temper, because I've been on the other side of that.
Mm-hmm.
So having those experiences made you who you are now. So having regrets for those don't really matter, because if you hadn't gone through that, you wouldn't be who you are right now.
Some people only get worse. Some people will do violence unto others, and then they're like, I enjoy this, and then they just keep doing it. Or I don't know how to stop, so I'm just going to keep going.
Psychopaths.
So. Exactly. Yeah, but it is a thing where it's that self-awareness that we talk about. If you are not aware enough to realize what you're doing may not be as beneficial as you once thought, you would not make the changes that you saw fit. Type of thing, for sure. So living in the present, by letting go of regret, we free ourselves from the burden of the past and allow space for joy, gratitude, and mindfulness. Living in the present allows us to make the most of every opportunity, create new positive experiences, and shape our future with intent and purpose. Like you were saying, if you have to have that self-reflection, because it gives yourself a chance to start over. You give yourself the second chance by saying, okay, this wasn't the best. This isn't the best version of me. Woof. I need to be able to, how do I change? How do I make the best of whatever life I have left? Because we don't know when everything is going to get kind of shut off. We don't know when the lights are going to go out, and when we die, we may not have the opportunity to go back and make amends for whatever we've done. So how do I make sure I can kind of balance the ledger, kind of thing? And what I read recently is that when you do a negative action, it has a ripple effect. Everything that you do has a ripple effect,
and it's gonna come back for you.
It's gonna come back for you. So there is karma.
The stuff I've done it's come back. It's come back for me at times.
But the positive things that you do have a larger,
also come back for me.
Yeah, it has a larger ripple effect even than the negative that you do. I don't know why it is like that, but it is. It's just like one of those laws of nature.
A positive thought is more powerful than a negative thought. And I would like to believe that, and I do believe this, I've done more good in the world than I've done harm. And that's also shown in the results that I get of where I am right now, and people who have come in my life, the help I've gotten over the years, situations that I find myself in that I'm like, I have no idea how this is going to work out in my favor, but it does always. And that's because although I've done some things, I've done way more good. I know that, and it's like I've done way more good, and it shows. You get the results of your actions. Always. Whether that be negative or be positive.
Absolutely. The last one that we have here is empowering self-reflection. So rather than regretting what we have done, we can use self-reflection to make amends, set a new intention, make proactive steps towards becoming better versions of ourselves. Self-reflection empowers us to make conscious choices aligned with our values and aspirations, leading to a life of greater fulfillment and authenticity. We try to help each other as much as we can. We try to, because of how we've gotten to this point. And when I say this point, I mean like literally sitting here. I feel like by being able to do this, we've done enough good to be able to earn the right to try and help people. But at the same time, you don't know what to help them with until you go kind of through that same issue.
Absolutely.
So with self-reflection, it's like a matter of it's going to sound weird, but in life, before you kind of come into this kind of knowledge, you do as much bad that is required to get you to this point. So, I'm looking at this objectively, because once you decide, I need to stop this, and from this point on, I'm going to be as positive as an influence as I can be. But even that is still a change because you're still going through all of that. You're still going through all of that um, torment, let's say, that you've put yourself through.
Yeah.
Because hell isn't a place of like fire and brimstone. It's up here because you are constantly going through all of the things that you did, that people that you hurt, people that have hurt you. You're running those things in your mind constantly, which is not making space for the positivity that you can put out into the world or the positivity that can come back to you. Like we were saying, if you don't, there's a certain amount of surrender that you have or that you have to give in order to get back. If you're constantly thinking about, oh, I did all this fucked up shit, I don't belong, I don't deserve to have positive things happen to me.
You're not worthy of it.
You're not worthy of it. Then you don't. Yeah. Then that's all right. Well, that's it. Then this is your life now. Hell. But once you say, okay, I fucked up. I have the opportunity to change now. And this is not a year thing. You can do this today. You can do this in the next 5 minutes. You can do this tomorrow. You can do this now. Okay, I am worthy because there's a amount of good that I know I'm capable of. So let me move in that. Stop worrying about all the shit that you did. Start worrying about all the stuff that you still can do and make it positive.
Yeah, I mean, if we haven't gone through, I'll just take me personally. If I hadn't gone through some of the stuff that I went through, I wouldn't be able to have the conversations with people that I have. I wouldn't be able to see that somebody's going through some stuff when they're just like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. It's like bullshit. Bullshit, bro. Like, I see you wearing the mask. It's like, I can see it because I've done it. I've worn the mask, telling the whole world you're fine. You're not fine. Something's wrong. Or to be able to see that anger in somebody, be like, man, there's rage. It's like, oh no, I'm good. It's like, nah, bro. There's rage there. You need to let that go, because if you don't, it's gonna come out in a way that you are not gonna enjoy. Believe me.
People around you probably aren't gonna enjoy it.
You're not gonna enjoy it. I mean, even to the point of like teaching some of my clients kickboxing is like being able to tell them, it's like when somebody really wants to put that pressure on you, and to be able to tap into that. It's like, it's not just me being live with them, but being able to, in a moment's notice, going from, being the playful to that, like, and that intent changes, and they can feel that intent change to the point where they're like, whoa. Right. it's like you went from just playing to like, shit just got real serious. It's like, but I can tap into that because I've been there. Right. It's like, I know how to defend because I've been beat. It's like, it's one of those things you have to, if you've never had that experience, it's like you're really not gonna be able to talk about it. Right. It's like if you've never been suicidal, you can't talk to somebody who's suicidal in a really meaningful way that connects with them in a deep way. Right. I mean, you can kind of talk them off the ledge, but being able to be like, man, I understand. That's a Band-Aid. I understand where you're coming from with this. It's like, I feel I've been there. Right where you're standing, I've been there. I've been on that edge where it's just there's no hope and all this good stuff. I've seen it. I've looked into that darkness. I've been there before, man. There is hope. I know it doesn't look like it. I know it doesn't seem like it right now, but there is hope on the other side of this. Just keep going a little further. Right. Just a little further. Just one more step every day. It's always just one step. That's all I ask. Just one step. You wouldn't be able to have I wouldn't be able to have those conversations unless I went through what I went through. And so, it's a piece of it. So having regret from that, I think, doesn't do that justice. Right. Right. I see what you're saying. Absolutely. Yeah. So, as deep as this is, as deep as it has been, these are the next three, or the next three principles that we wanted to discuss from the Dokkodo. And they're very powerful, man. And there's 21 of these boys. So we're only on 6. We ain't even into the double digits yet. I don't know how it's gonna be by the time we get to 21.
Yeah, but you know what? We'll be able to come away with even more insight because by being able to discuss these out loud, people are going to either want to go find the books themselves, find the knowledge themselves, or just be grateful that people are willing to have this conversation because there's nobody around them that can relate the way they need to be relating. I've never been suicidal, but I've definitely tapped into, you know, rage and hatred and self-loathing and grief and sadness and loneliness, and all those things still go into that. If anything, they are the pathway to suicide. But if you're not being able to recognize what they are, recognizing that you are not your thoughts, and having a chance to break it down so that, okay, these are the changes that I need to make so that I no longer feel this way. But again, without those emotions, I wouldn't be able to be where I'm at. I wanted to help people the way that I want to help them. Do I still get upset? Of course I do. Do I still get angry and sad and all this other shit? Of course I do. But I've been able to rein it in to the point where if somebody wants to talk to me and need some type of ear just to listen, I got you. Because I still know what that is. I may not know how bad it can get. But I've still been there. You know, so.
For sure. Yeah, man. By the time we hit 21, man, I might be sitting there in front of you guys glowing, sitting Buddha status. Man. Might be Super Saiyan 2 by the time we
know what I'm saying? Like,
bro,
for real.
It's just good. It's
just
getting
deep.
real. It's getting real and
you know?
deep, man.
And as we put this out, we are unfolding ourselves, which is the whole point. It's the whole point of all this.
For sure.
So take us home, my man. Where can you find us?
Well, you can find us on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok coming up, Twitter eventually.
Eventually.
When we get our shit together.
Twitter's a horrible place.
Twitter's a hard one. I can see myself getting a lot of Twitter fights on that one.
Right.
But anyway.
For sure.
But yeah, anywhere you can find podcasts, man, we'll be up there. And of course, the YouTube channel where you're watching us right now, not just hearing, but watching us. So happy to be here, man. Once again, we are Warriors Way Home podcast, trying to just put the fight back into men, so go out there and fight your fight, because you much rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Absolutely.
All right, guys.
Peace.
Take it easy. See you guys next time.